Swan Lake, written and narrated by Charles Kinsley. This is a reading of Chapter 1 of my book, available both on Amazon and Kindle. Links in the description below. Chapter 1. The Fredricksons. "Will there be anything else, sir?" Jane Agatsami asked as she stood up from the office chair, pulling the edge of her skirt down to its proper place above the knee. She folded her pad of paper under her arm and placed her pin behind an ear. "Nothing," grunted the overweight executive behind the desk. The office fluorescence glimmered brightly off his balding, sweaty head as he flicked through a stack of papers on his desk. Janie pushed in her chair and turned to leave after a brief smile. "Have a good vacation, Mr. Fredrickson." Fitz looked up from the papers, catching her smile. "You too, Janie," Fitz Fredrickson said, placing both of his hairy-knuckled, monkey-paw hands on the desk and heaving himself out of his chair. Crumbs from his midday snack resembled the first pebbles of a rock slide past his overstretched buttoned shirt, cascading onto the carpet at his feet. The ass on that Janie. Little tease. Not that I'm complaining. Office eye candy at its finest. If Margie had an ass like that, I'd have more than 2 kids, let me tell ya," Fitz thought as he leaned over his desk, staring intently on Janie as she left. He was drawn in by the tightness of her dark blue skirt against her nylon thighs. His eyes traced up the skirt to the edge of the thin white blouse tucked into the backside of the skirt. Her dark hair pulled up into a loose ponytail which swayed side to side as she walked, matching the tempo of her hips. What's that saying? "I hate to see you go, but I love to watch you leave." Ha ha, Fitz, you dog. She wouldn't know how to handle this much, man. Fitz stood hiding his slightly aroused manhood behind the desk, licking his lips. "Yes, Janie, I hope you have a good vacation." An incredibly good time indeed. He chuckled at this thought under his breath. His lips turned into an ear-to-ear grin as his hand slid across the desk, off the edge, and found the brass handle of the cherrywood drawer. He pulled it open to reveal a pamphlet from Swan Lake from its interior. His thick fingers grabbed the creased edge. "Hurry up, Tommy. Your father will be home any minute. You know he hates to wait," Margaret Fredrickson expressed irritably, standing in her kitchen, hands deep in the suds-filled sink. Okay, echoed from the upstairs bedroom with a groan of frustration. Moments later, with a thud, Tommy let out a sigh as his heavy suitcase was added to the others on the landing by the front door. "Don't know why we have to go on this stupid trip anyway. I mean, come on, Ma, I'm gonna miss Garrett's birthday," little Tommy said, standing in the doorway of the kitchen. His brown hair fluffed limply on his forehead. His bushy eyebrows were curled upward near begging. He had his hands on the waistband of his oversized shorts, a hand-me-down from Fitz before his middle outgrew them. His thin, sporadically haired legs shot out of his shorts into a dirty pair of sneakers. "Don't start with me, Thomas William Fredrickson. I won't hear another word about it," Margie retorted, wiping her hands on her apron. A long strand of curly brown hair dangled in front of her right eye, which she attempted unsuccessfully to move with 2 big puffs of air, whistling without sound. "Here!" Sally Fredrickson voiced impatiently, pushing the hair in front of her mother's right eye behind her ear. "Not like I want to go either, Tommy." She rolled her eyes and flashed Tommy a snarled lip. "Just 'cause your boyfriend's parents are out of town." Tommy mockingly held his hands out, as if holding an invisible head, moaning and making out with the air. His tongue flipped and flopped out of his mouth disgustingly. "Shut up, you little shit! I hope you drowned at the lake!" Sally exclaimed irascibly, lunging toward Tommy. Her press-on nailed hand stretched out in front of her like an eagle talon going in for its prey. "Enough! The both of you! So help me God, if I have to hear another one of your—" Margie slammed her hand to the table, just as a muffled car horn honked in the driveway. Composing herself, she removed her apron, letting out a long exhale. "Listen to me, you two." She spoke clearly and calmly, leaning forward on the counter, pulling Sally and Tommy near her. "We will have a great family vacation. It will be fun. First one we've had in over 5 years, and I'm sure it'll be another 5 years before we get another one, knowing your father." Margie huffed and inhaled deeply. "Now for me, your mother, the one who makes you breakfast, helps with your homework, cleans your clothes, and cooks you dinner. Please, for me. Let's try to act like we're having fun at least." Margie donned a fake smile and patted both of them on the back. "Fine, but I'm bringing my computer," Tommy pulled out of his mother's grasp. "Okay, Mom, just keep Tommy the toddler away from me." Sally pushed past her brother, grabbed her suitcase, and stormed out of the front door. Tommy pulled up his suitcase after throwing on his backpack and ran out the door after his sister. Alone, Margie dropped her hands to her side and casted her head upward towards the ceiling. Eyes closed, she drifted deep into her own mind, her safe place, the one she held dear to her heart. "Please give me strength," she muttered under her breath, took a big inhale and released. As she exhaled slowly, her smile returned. Moments later, the family was loaded into Fitz's Cadillac and backed out of the driveway. "We there yet? My laptop's battery is almost dead, and it feels like we've been driving forever." Tommy closed his laptop, setting it next to him in the middle seat of his dad's Cadillac. "Almost, boy. Just another 20 minutes or so," Fitz responded unenthusiastically as he took a giant puff from his cigar. His window was cracked, but the smell filled the entirety of the inside cab. "You said that an hour ago," Tommy retorted under his breath, crossing his arms in protest. "Why don't you watch the scenery out your window, hun, like your sister?" Margie placed her hand on Fitz's leg, shooting Tommy a smile over her shoulder. Tommy looked over at Sally, who was leaning against the window with her head. Headphone cords dangled limply from both ears, and her phone screen was inches from the tip of her nose. Her shoes were kicked off onto the carpeted floor of the car, while her feet stood on the edge of the seat, pushing her knees to her chest, using them to brace her arms at the elbows. Her long, brown, curly hair covered her face almost entirely from view. "Yeah, look at nature all right. Didn't know stalking your boyfriend on social media was on the Nature Channel," Tommy thought with a laugh. He glanced back at his mom, opening his mouth to complain, then hesitated. "Mom sure is taking it all in," Tommy thought, watching her as she pat her hand on his dad's leg, lip-syncing while smiling to oldies on the car radio. Tommy's mind flashed to a talk mere hours before in the kitchen and decided to drop it. "Don't need her yelling at me again." Tommy laid his head back against the seat and sighed from utter boredom. Closing his eyes, his head swayed side to side on the soft leather seat, rhythmically in sync to the Cadillac's tires gliding on the road. He heard a distant bird chirp, another car passed fast on his left side just outside his window, and the air coming in from his father's cracked window felt cool on his forehead, lightly moving his hair with the wind. "Wake up! Wake up, you little shit, we're here!" Sally yelled, shaking her brother's arm vigorously. "Language!" Margie's voice sounded distant as her door shut. Tommy woke up, his hand wiped the drool off his cheek instinctively. His eyes blinked hard twice before he was able to focus on his sister's disapproving scowl. Her full lips angled into a glossy red smirk. "Come on, or we'll leave you in the car," Sally said, punching Tommy in the arm. Tommy grabbed his arm and grimaced before reaching for Sally, missing as she dodged, backing away outside of her car door, laughing, and slammed her door in his face. "Margie, I'm gonna go in the office and find out which one is ours. Gotta be around here," Fitz huffed, one hand hiking his pants up in the back as he closed the driver's door with his other hand. The constant chime emanating from the Cadillac's dashboard ceased as the driver's door shut. At more of a wobble than a walk, Fitz made his way into the office. Tommy sunk back into his seat and peered sleepily out of his window at the building to his left. A carved wooden bear sat next to the front door. Propped between its paws, a wooden sign read, "I may be cute, but don't feed me." Tommy pulled the handle of his door and groggily slumped out of the car. Margie took an amazed glance around at the beautiful wilderness surrounding them. A couple of boats motored by on the lake to their right. A group of hikers passed them, each giving a wave. An elderly couple sat in rocking chairs on the deck of one of the cabins in the distance. Margie inhaled deeply through her nose. The strong smell of spruce trees and fresh flowers rode the gentle breeze of the lake. "Isn't this great, kiddos?" Margie rounded to the back of the car, arms extended to her sides. "Sure, it's amazing." Tommy drew out his words as he smacked a mosquito on his arm, beginning to feast. Just great, Mom. Grimacing with an elongated pause as he wiped the small splat of blood away. Sally, watching the boats zoom around the lake, narrowed her eyes on a particular one with a couple of cute shirtless boys. I don't know, Tom. May not be too bad after all. Sally lowered her sunglasses and peered over the mirrored shades with a small smirk. The bell on the desk sat next to a laminated sign, edges curled with age, which read, Ring for service. So Fitz, being the upstanding professional he is, decided to ring it repeatedly until an older man came through the door behind the desk.
Sorry, was in the bathroom. What can I do for you, sir?
The old man sat down on the stool behind the counter, placing his reading glasses on his nose. His voice had a deep rasp to it, with a small undertone of country authenticity.
Oh no, please take your time. I'd love to spend my summer vacation with my family standing here in your office,
Fitz groaned.
I've got a reservation here and I'm trying to check in. Well, trying to, that is.
Fitz continued as he wiped the sweat from his forehead with one hand and laid it on the counter. The elderly man raised his untrimmed thick eyebrows as he watched Fitz's slimy hand wipe the sweat off onto his desk.
Yes, sir, of course. I'm sorry again. What was the name?
The elderly man reached for the giant green book in front of him on the counter.
Fitz Fredrickson. How many reservations could you have, old man? I mean, honestly.
The old man cleared his throat.
It's Ronald, sir.
As he opened the green tattered covered book in front of him.
No, Fitz Fredrickson. Can't you hear? Fitz rolled his eyes and leaned on the counter with both hands. No, I'm Ronald, sir, not old man.
Flipping through a few pages of the green book, his eyes peering over the top of his reading glasses, making eye contact with Fitz. He looked down and began running his index finger down the list of names.
Well, Ronald, have you found my reservation yet?
Fitz's cheeks began to flush with anger. Moments later, Ronald raised his index finger slightly above the page and stamped its soft cushion back down.
Here we are, Fitz Fredrickson +3. A cabin suite for 7 nights and 8 days. Check in today, June 29th, and check out July 6th.
Ronald looked up to Fitz.
Now, because the week package comes with the 8th day on us, checkout is at 5 o'clock instead of the normal 10 in the morning.
Ronald smiled, lowering his hands flat onto the open green book.
I'll need a credit card on file, and it's a $250 deposit, which we will refund, of course, after the suite's inspection when you check out.
Ronald finished, raising his hand to grab the card Fitz was waving about impatiently in front of him.
Yes, just take it and get it done, McDonald.
10 minutes later, Fitz signed the last of the paperwork and headed out the front door.
Have a good stay, sir, and don't forget to call if there's anything else we can do for you,
Ronald concluded, as he flipped his middle finger to the back of Fitz's head, who was not paying attention to Ronald in his rush to leave the office. Fitz quickly approached the caddy, opened his door, and with a grunt flopped down into the leather seat. His chubby fingers spun the dial, air conditioning blasted at max. He leaned into the vent and felt the cool air chill the sweat on his face. Margie opened her door.
Summer vacation? More like summer hell. This heat is miserable, I tell you,
Fitz grumbled. Margie sat down and handed him a napkin from the glove box. Here, dear. Remember, this was your idea. No sense in complaining. I'm sure they will have air conditioning in the cabin. Everything is modern now, you know. Tommy got back into his side and leaned over Sally's seat, opening her door. Come on, Sal. You can stare at boys later. Sally turned quickly, giving Tommy an evil glare. Oh, shut up, you toad. She hopped into the car, and as soon as her door shut, the caddy pulled out of the dirt driveway in front of the office, tossing up small dirt gusts from each tire. 15 minutes and a few wrong turns later, they pulled into the little driveway in front of cabin 4. The crackle and crunch of the gravel under the slow-moving tires faded as Tommy rolled up his window. The low sound of bushes blown by the light gusts of wind rustled as they got out of the caddy. Fitz walked toward the small boat dock behind the cabin. What the hell? Fitz saw the office to the right about 100 yards away. "What is it, dear?" Margie asked as she walked up to Fitz's side.
Damn office is right there. Why the hell did they make us take a road all over the goddamn mountain to our cabin when the fucking thing was this close to the office?
Fitz pointed at the small building in the distance. Margie looked in his finger's direction. "Maybe it's to keep the trail small on this side to give it more of an exclusion feel," she said as she took his hand and squeezed it with hers.
Exclusion my ass! Don't make no sense.
Fitz tore his hand out from hers and stormed off into the cabin. Everyone except Fitz stayed outside taking in the scenery for a few minutes before they grabbed their suitcases from the trunk and followed in Fitz's grumpy footsteps. When they finally made it inside, Fitz had already turned on the big screen TV and rested his bare feet on the coffee table in front of the couch. A small clump of lint was sandwiched between two of his toes. "This place is amazing!" Margie exclaimed as she entered the vaulted ceiling entryway leading into the living room area of the cabin. High side windows a foot from the ceiling casted bright rays of sunlight throughout the cabin's interior. The smell of fresh linen and aspen filled the room. Even the normal foul odor of Fitz's feet were no match for the freshness of the wilderness air. A small set of stairs led to the bedrooms on the second level of the cabin to Margie's right. The kitchen was a glimmering silver corner in the otherwise brown wooden interior. "Oh my, all new stainless steel appliances!" Margie dropped her bag next to Fitz on the couch and walked to the kitchen. "Oh, how I could use this at home. Look, hon, we should do this with our house," Margie said, gliding her hand over the clean, brand-new stovetop. Fitz, ignoring Margie, continued to flip through the channels on the TV. Tommy ran up the stairs and bolted towards the master suite. Hearing the rapid patter of his footsteps, "The big bedroom's ours, Tommy. Don't even try it," Margie hollered up at him. "Man, almost had it," Tommy gloomed, slowing to a halt and picked the next biggest room. Sally shook her head disapprovingly as she went upstairs, finding the last available room, dropped her suitcase at the foot of the bed, quickly glanced around at its plain interior, shut the heavy oak door, and threw herself stomach first on her bed. Hours later, Margie sat alone. After bringing in all the boxes and bags from the car, stocking the food and drinks into the fridge and various cupboards, running her fingers over the deep grooves in the grain of the oak dining table. "Well, not much different than the average night at home," Margie thought, frowning. The TV was blaring a sports rerun, and the flickering lights of the program illuminated Fitz as he snored on the couch. One hand shoved down the front of his whitey-tighty underwear, his pants unbuckled and unzipped. His hairy belly stuck out of the bottom of his hiked, now wrinkled button shirt. Drool ran down the side of his chubby cheek, making a rather large wet spot on the couch cushion next to him. Sally, Margie can only assume, is still laying on her bed, either browsing different social media sites or talking to her boyfriend on the phone, while Tommy is most certainly playing some shooter game on his computer after getting the Wi-Fi password from his father a couple hours ago. Rounding a smooth knot with her index finger on the wooden dining table, Margie imagined a better life, one with passion and romance, love and understanding, remembering the man she once knew and loved. "Oh, Margie, listen to yourself," shaking her head with a sigh. "I just wish he noticed me more often. Not just when he wanted to get his needs met. I have needs too. I'm not just a piece of meat. And to be honest, it's not even enjoyable. Rough, hateful, and with the intoxicating smell of alcohol and cigars engulfing me." She dwelt deeper in thought as she found patterns within the grain, eyes watering, releasing a small stream of tears, which she habitually wiped away. Sometime later she flipped the TV off and headed upstairs to the master bedroom. Fitz's snores were muffled when she shut the bedroom door to a whisper. A sense of relief washed over her, and she had one of the best nights of sleep since her marriage.